Hello, and welcome back to another amazing episode of Denta. Hi, how are you? We have a special 5-part series for you where we're partnering with CBRC Two Spirit program and the Knowledge Seekers. Today, I have a fantastic artist with me, Jaylene Tyme, but she's also known as Jaylene McRae.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for the welcome. I always like to say that the Jaylene McRae in there, that's my Czech name. Over the years, I've been able to really create the persona, but also a real strong identity in community as Jaylene Tyme, as a drag performer. But also too, I really honor sort of like the people that raised me, and I come from a 60s scoop background, and so that relationship hasn't always been, it's been confusing to say. But today I choose to really honor the fact that we're in this together, and we learn from our experiences by unpacking things. And I think that's one of the things that will lead really well into our discussion today is what are we talking about, and who are we? Well, I'll start off. I'm Jaylene. I'm an Indigenous Two-Spirit transgender human being. I'm registered with Zagame Anishinaabe in Treaty 4, Saskatchewan, and with maternal roots in Kwakatus First Nation and Métis Nation, Saskatchewan.
I'm very excited that you could be here to discuss the Knowledge Seekers with the Two Spirit program at CBRC. But before we keep going, I just want to make reference to saying that that's your Czech name. I love that. I usually say my government name, but I'm going to go from now on saying that's my Czech name.
Tell the man with the money.
Yeah, exactly. Tell the man with the money. All right, Jaylene, we are both with CBRC. Before we get going on talking about the Knowledge Seekers, can you tell us a bit about CBRC?
Yeah, I'd love to. So CBRC is an acronym for Community-Based Research Center, and it has been in existence for over 25 years and really strengthening and doing research for the queer community. And it has expanded today as a Two-Spirit program to represent the 2S LGBTQIA plus community. So it's definitely is something that continues to reach further to make sure that more people are included. But a lot of the things that we're able to achieve from our unity as researchers is we're able to really assess the lived experiences of people on what is really working for them and what are some of the things that they really need in their life to take care of themselves, whether it be their health care, their sexual health, even like our human rights. So I think it is something that is a whole group of people coming together to make sure that we're really aware that it takes all of us to really create those environments.
That's awesome. I love that you mentioned like lived experiences as a form of research. And I think we do need to pivot and realize that your lived experience is a form of expertise.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's something too, specifically speaking within research as well. Generally speaking, it's an academic background. And so to be able to bring different forms of wisdom and knowledge, it is important for access. We want to bring more people in than exclude people.
And that's exactly what we're doing with CBRC and the Two Spirit program. And now, can you tell us a bit about the Two Spirit program within CBRC?
Yeah. Well, the Two Spirit program is something that I'm really inspired by and also really proud to be part of, because the reason why I'm part of this team is because I was invited to share some words for one of the events that they were having. And I'd never been in a space that was all Two Spirit people. So by coming into that event and witnessing the Two Spirit program at that time, really lead it with such care. And there's this energy that I felt being in that space that I hadn't experienced before. I mean, I've been an Indigenous Two-Spirit transgender human being navigating my life, and sometimes being part of small groups of people, but to have a whole room of people who identified as Two-Spirit was amazing. And I felt it wasn't a coincidence. It was kind of telling me where I was going to go next. And I felt something, and I knew, I think this is where I need to work as a career, because I felt like there's so much work for us to do, and I felt like that was a calling.
It's very much a calling. And I have the exact same connection with CBRC as you did, with specifically the Two Spirit program, being in a room with Two Spirit people. I was invited into a space by you into 2023, I think it was, at the Two-Spirit gathering that he held in Vancouver. And it was just an enlightening moment where you'd see like-minded people around you. You can see the path that you need to be on. You can see that there's growth that we can create. And I'm forever grateful that you invited me to that space, because now I'm here with you. We're creating magic and changing the world.
Well, I think it's also important to mention that, our drag community has had Two-Spirit identity in our culture, and we've seen it. And whether or not we really had the opportunity to all be together, I always saw you, and I saw other performers like Ilona and Shelazon and Cheryl Trade and different people that I would see out and just feel really grateful that they were out there.
Yeah, it's it's like when you mentioned, when you see someone out there doing the work, it's inspirational.
hmm
Yeah, I agree with that.
And I think that this is something that is, specifically in the work of research and actually having our voices feel like people are listening. There's been a shift there. And so, like when you mentioned that I invited you in, it's because somebody did that for me. And
Mhm,
when I see somebody and I witness what they're doing in their community already, because you were already leading in an environment that you didn't really have anyone to follow, you were kind of, if not me, then who?
mhm.
Show up and create that presence.
And that's exactly what we're trying to do with the Knowledge Seeker program. We're trying to get new up and coming and Two-Spirit Indigenous researchers out there doing the work. Jaylene, would you be able to tell us about the Knowledge Seekers program?
Yeah, I'd love to. Oh, when I think about the Knowledge Seekers program, I'm just thinking this is like amazing to witness that this is being provided to our Two Spirit people, because it really is a way for us to come together and learn about research, learn about how to be able to do the work and really connect with other environments of people doing the work, like academic backgrounds, but also different levels of lived experience and age groups. And I think that is something that is led with a lot of heart, but also knowledge that we've learned over the years. And it gives people who are sometimes a lot of displaced people, displaced kin, who haven't been part of the circle of ceremony or community within Indigenous and Two Spirit populations to come together and kind of start off what is research. What are some of the things that what are the benefits that we bring to our people, and what are some of the expectations in the colonial world to make sure that we are able to access opportunities and funding to be able to create projects to help people with their overall health, their sexual health, their gender affirming care, all these different things. And I think one thing that I find really valuable is it gives us the opportunity to hold people accountable on accessibility, to make sure that that language isn't just a whole bunch of words that people don't understand. Because, like different cultures, like in our drag culture, we have lingo that we understand, but a lot of people don't.
Mhm.
It's the same as an academic background. If you're coming in from a lived experience into that environment, there's a lot of words and scientific jargon that, for example, I don't understand. So coming into a space that says, okay, well, first and foremost, let's tell people what we're doing and why we want to do it. And so we have a group that comes together, and it's led by our um, our colleague Sky, who's really facilitates to make sure that we're providing up to date information so that people can feel confident to do the work moving forward.
I agree with you. I think that the program's so awesome for us to be able to decolonize research, make it accessible for everyone. It's like that knowledge translation from that academic world to the public, so they can see it better. Not see it better, so they can understand it and take it in. And I love how Sky is able to facilitate that to the group. Like, you're sitting in the room, it's well thought out. It's bringing these concepts to these hopefully future researchers to help better the Indigenous communities. And it's really inspiring seeing all these different walks of life, but still the same like Indigenous core there, but coming together to create change.
Yeah, and a highlight for me on Knowledge Seekers has been watching people grow and develop and witnessing it. I
Yeah.
think that when we're able to get rid of like the not feeling included and the lack of confidence, when we're able to kind of put that to the side and realize that, everyone's welcome here. And there's no question that is deemed as something being not appropriate.
Yeah. Was this thing? There's no such thing as a stupid question. Like someone's thinking it, so you just like to have the space to answer it. And I feel that that's what that space creates. It creates this atmosphere where the knowledge seekers can come together and ask questions without judgment.
Yeah, and I think it's also a real pathway towards people like I said, learning, but also if they want a career, it gives them something they can use, for example, on their CV resume. It's so that
Hmm.
they've achieved and they've accomplished. And I think that when we finish at the end of the day, if people just say, "Well, what was your experience with knowledge seekers?" And like, for example, I could go into a job interview and say, "That's a really great question. And what knowledge seekers provided me was an opportunity to be able to explore what the needs are in this business. And when we come together for each other, we all play a part in it. And our role for us is to be able to strengthen and celebrate the pathways of empowerment. And that means having rich, transparent, and vulnerable um, conversation, but also making sure that we're providing the different um, industry standards for this work. And I feel like just coming together and confirming with each other that we have an opportunity and a responsibility to be able to support our communities. And we have to start somewhere.
Have to start somewhere, and we're creating that space with the knowledge seekers.
Yeah, I love
I
it.
think it's so good because you're restructuring people's worldview on research. Like you said, research usually comes from this very, well, I shouldn't say people, the majority of people, when you talk to them and they think of research, it's coming from someone that's in a cardigan sitting at office with like bottle nose, not bottle nose, bottle cap glasses. Like, it just has this very structured, stigmatized view of it where we realize that we're doing research every day by living in this world. And how do we translate that into the academic world so they can listen to our lived experiences and our
Mm,
stories?
that I have to share something because what you just said was how I ended up with Community Based Research Center.
Hmm.
I had experienced that event. There was a job posting. I didn't think I would get it. I don't have a degree. And so I was like, I don't really know if I have enough qualifications for it. I went to a job interview, which was with our leader, Jesse Dame. And he reminded me, he said, "You do realize you've been doing research your entire life."
Hmm.
And I thought about it like that. I was thinking coming into a place to where they would tell me I didn't have the experience. Meanwhile, as an Indigenous trans person at the age of 50 some years age, I came with such a rich identity of experience coming through, like I said, as a 60s scoop adoptee, as a trans person, as a sober person, as a survivor of many different environments of violence, as a drag performer, as a person who shares their spirit through the expression of art. I have a lot to contribute. And that's something I want to make sure that message is clear to other relatives. There's so many people that have been told that they're not of value or they made to feel that they're not. And
Hmm.
that, oh, like I don't know if I'm gonna be right in that environment. It's like they are lucky to have you. You know how many
Hmm.
times we talk about research with people? Number one is like it's not for us. It's those people with the cardigan sweaters and glasses, and they're trying to take away our rights, and that's how I feel. But in reality, it is, we have to heal a story of having our people being extracted from disrespectfully for
Hmm.
too long, and how a lot of spaces that are healing from the fact that we used to be just a check mark for their funding. And
Hmm.
now they have made a commitment. I love that about CBRC. They made a commitment to make sure that our work was doing by us for us. And I think that that is a real shift that has happened over the years. And when we bring more people into it, I can confidently say that we're learning together.
Hmm. Yeah, it's pretty awesome that CBRC made that commitment to create the Two-Spirit program. Two-Spirit program created the knowledge seekers. So it's this trickle down that's just creating these avenues for people to find I don't want to say purpose, but finding like a role that they can fit into to create like this Indigenous healing journey.
Yeah, I always feel like I want to remind you that you're that person.
Hmm.
You know, the fact that you came and you've had like, maybe you've had struggles, maybe you haven't, but have you felt really included in leadership?
Hmm.
Because if you haven't, as a queer person, when you think about it, that is the most courageous journey to take ownership of, because the whole world is against you. You know, so if you can brave that and realize that your truth is the most important thing, that is a strength that is needed in spaces of leadership.
Hmm. Yeah, like I said, your lived experience is a form of expertise. You just got to listen and then take in those stories. All right, we're
Exactly.
going to pivot a little moment because we're going to go into Our Bodies, Our Health, which is what this 5-part series is focusing around. The research that you all did last summer, I believe summer of 2025, doing the Pride circuits. Would you be able to tell us a little bit about the Our Bodies, Our Health survey?
Yeah, well, even the name, our bodies, our health. You know, so we're that no one would know better than us. And so one of the things about touring, and I think the special thing about the Two Spirit program as well, is we're not just behind a computer screen. We travel to different nations, different environments of people. And the questions and the surveys that we have are meant to connect with people together in person. And I think something that's really important to mention as far as the Two Spirit program is, for a long time and still to this day, applications can be difficult for me. It can seem like a lot of work. If somebody comes to you and gives you a bunch of questions and says, answer these. And what I have noticed is that I'm not the only one that feels that way. So a lot of our Indigenous people, feel like it's overwhelming to sit there and focus on document, because it is all this jargon and these words that can feel really, like I said, extractive, but also it just doesn't feel always genuine. And
Mhm.
so, what I love the fact that we went out, we were sit with people. I would sit down with people and have these discussions that were heart led, and just say, I know this may seem challenging. If it makes you feel better, let's do it together.
Mhm.
Kind of walking through the questions and reminding them these aren't just empty questions. They're meant to include us. They're also meant to strengthen our healthcare and our sexual health. And in order for that to happen, we need to have the stories from us.
Mhm.
So that's what we did, and we gathered these wonderful stories that we captured. And at the end of the day, we're able to sit there and realize this is something that is expanding. There are people, we're finding each other, and we're able to really come together in unity with a newfound strength that holds other environments accountable to including us. And when we figure out what is needed, even in our remote areas, and share that message with people who are looking to expand policy and reach out for more funding, we can tell them why we need the funding. Because we
Mhm.
have been there, we have talked to the people, we've experienced it ourselves, and we have to make sure that our voices are heard.
Yeah, so one of the things I absolutely loved is when you all did your tour to around these different Pride events, is that you took the time to help people through the survey. It wasn't just standing out there and be like, "Hey, can you take this? Here's a QR code," and then sending them back out. We're like, "No, we're going to have this relationality. We're going to connect you. We're going to talk about reproductive health, mental health, and sexual health with you all through the Our Bodies, Our Health survey, and you're going to make them feel that the space is welcome to them." Because we called that, I'm going to get this wrong, the Two Spirit Lounge. Is
Yeah.
that what we call it with in the teepee, the tent that you had on
Yeah.
the tour?
Yeah, well, that was like to basically say there's a space for you. And
Mhm.
sometimes, you know, it was in hot weather. So people needed a little shelter, a little shade, and not shade like from a drag queen, but like just a place to come and maybe just take a breath, have a drink, and you know, sit with relatives. And I think that was something that was really important, because it also, we think about, and what I really love is the fact that all we ask for, and I'll speak for myself, but also our group, is we ask for transparency and the truth.
Mhm.
You know, we can deal with anything if we can confirm that that's what we're providing is a space of truth, and
Mhm.
say that you're welcome, we're here to help. And if we have that, when people feel seen, heard, and of value, that's when our work can start. I just want to mention that out of 6,729 participants, 731, which is 10.9%, identified as Indigenous, Métis, or Inuit, where half, 44.8%, identified as Two Spirit.
Mhm.
And 2 out of 5 of Two Spirit participants identified as trans. So we wouldn't know this if we didn't have these discussions with people.
Mhm.
But you just can't put everyone into the same bracket and expect that that is an accurate account of people's lived experiences. So I think that that is something that is important. And how are you supposed to have those discussions if you don't build trust? If you
Yeah,
don't,
and
if
sorry,
you
I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
environment. Sorry, I'm all passionate right now. But if
Keep
you
going.
don't create an environment that says, come up to the table, sit here, let's sit down, let's take a breather. First of all, I'm so glad that you found us. Let's share what we're doing and give you the option if you want to contribute or not. But you're welcome here regardless.
Yes, and it's that creating that relationship with it, and you also got to go to places that wouldn't normally see these surveys. Like you went up to Whitehorse and Lethbridge, which you'd never been to before, with the survey, which is fantastic. And I've talked to you about this survey before and your experiences with that, and I loved hearing some of the connections you've made. Would you be able to talk about any highlights of any people that you would have met?
Well, I mean, I love it. I love it so much. The fact that I get to meet people in different communities that are living queer, fabulous lives. No, and I have to say, another thing that was been really great is having had the Canada's Drag Race experience and having people want to meet me and see me out in the world on their TV, and then being able to, like, for example, in Halifax, I was the headliner performer on the Saturday night, and then on Sunday was down sitting doing surveys in the park, and people were like, "What?" And I was like, I am the same person up there that I am here. And the fact that I'm there is a celebration because we're being included in many different aspects of our community. And that is a national, international level. But I never want to confuse the fact that I am still a relative that is here to try and make our communities better. And
Mhm.
so I've got to meet people through the drag race world and a lot of different opportunities that have happened for me. But I think the greatest thing that I have is the fact that maybe somebody wouldn't have heard my name before that. But when they talk to me, they're like, I feel like anything is possible.
Mhm.
That when I see other Indigenous people out there thriving, when I hear the stories about what we've been just talking about, maybe in our longhouse, in our at powwows, when I hear that those conversations are being brought to people who can make a difference in our lives, that to me brings me the greatest feeling of gratitude is the fact I'm truly doing something important. And I get to connect with other people who feel the same way. And that is our Two Spirit program. We
Mhm.
don't just clock in. We are people that are here because we know that together we can make a difference.
It's that level of care, that we bring into these situations. Like when you're out there doing these surveys, going from the stage to the next day, doing the surveys with everyone, it's that connection that you're making with them that makes them feel that they're in a space that they can share. As an Indigenous person, as a Two-Spirit person, I'm sure you can connect with this. We have been in so many spaces where everything felt like you were a number. And when we're in community, we don't want other people to feel that way. So we take that time to create that connection with someone so you can have these meaningful conversations, so you can have truthful dialogue, so that the information that we're getting from people is the truth, so that we can use that, like I said, to create new protocols, to put out proposals for grants, the things we need to be able to create uh, systems of change.
Yeah. And, I mentioned again about the fact I've been doing research my entire life, and we all have. And I think about it to do this kind of work and to connect with people at a heart level. I know what it's like to feel like I'm just a number. I was, through my alcohol and drug addiction, it led me to being part of the street community. And sometimes there were certain studies that were done where they give you like some money to do it.
Mhm.
I didn't know what they were doing, but I needed the money. So I remember feeling I was in a lineup of people and you just went and you did your thing and I didn't understand what they were asking, but I needed that money. And
Mhm.
I was I never I still look back at it and I realized I had no idea what I was doing or what I was signing.
Mhm.
And so now I think it's important that we do it. Anything about us is by us, and that we're really tender with people's like, I don't know what people are experiencing before they come and spend time with us. I have
Mhm.
to be mindful that I'm creating an environment that is gentle, that is inclusive, that it confirms with them that they're welcome and that what our intent is to gather information from them is going to achieve
Mhm.
or hopes
Like
to
you,
achieve.
yeah, like you mentioned earlier, full transparency. We want you to be able to see what we're doing, and we want to
And
show you what we're doing at the end.
so transparency. Sorry,
Good tie-in. Good tie-in.
she got jokes.
Well, laughter is medicine, right? All right. We talked about the relationality with these surveys and how it makes it accessible for 2S LGBTQ plus IA. The acronym I messed up so bad, but we know what we're talking about. Is there any other things we can do to make surveys such as this more accessible?
Yeah, I think it's also the language that's used
Hmm.
to make sure that it's also something that is accessible to the different wisdoms out there, the different knowledge that people have. And like I feel sometimes there was something that I heard recently where they were going to change the language to meet more people, and one of the ways they described that was, well, let's have it at a grade 8 education level. And
Hmm.
for myself, I felt, oh, that didn't feel right to me because that's basically saying that this communication, we need to dumb it down.
Hmm.
And I'm like, oh no, I feel it's like, and I share it in the moment right now. And it's interesting. I talked with like a group of friends, our group, about talking. Well, how do we navigate through microaggressions in environments? How do we challenge that in real time to make sure we're imparting change in our environment that are safer for people? And if somebody says something that is out of date and can be viewed as problematic or exclusive. Like, for example, anything that is disparaging against any racialized people or women or anybody like that, that we in the moment just say, "Ouch, that doesn't feel good." I'm not quite sure what you meant by that. So let's shift that towards being something that is appropriate to what we're creating here, which is an environment that welcomes everybody. And I think that when it's talking about reporting and how we can make them easier for people, if you start off with that language, recognizing that people have different knowledge at different levels from different experiences, and they're all at par as equal and they all contribute towards the betterment of our communities. If we
Hmm.
start from there and say, because there's some people that live off the land, some of our relatives that have traditional ways of life, and they're able to take care of their families through without technology,
Hmm.
that is a skill. And so it's important for us to make sure that we have the words that are bring people in more than exclude them. And I think that sometimes that seems like a big order, but when we do this together, we're able to and have those rich discussions with people. Say, what are some of the things that make you feel included, and what are some of the things that make you feel left out?
Hmm. That's so smart to start with. Like mention language, it can change everything. If you come in like hot and heavy and you're saying, oh, we're going to dumb this down for you, that's instantly going to make someone put their hackles up and then not want to communicate truthfully with you. So you lost pretty much half the battle there, and then how do you recover? So I feel half of our work is restructuring how we talk to people. We know how. We're teaching everyone else how
Mm.
to talk with Indigenous communities so that we can get in there and get these surveys and get these truthful answers so we can create change.
Well, I don't always think that I've always known how. I just allowed people to treat me poorly, and I thought that's all I knew. And so
Mm.
now the fact that when we come together and realize, no, I don't have to live like that. I don't need to have anybody look at me as a second-class citizen. I'm a very valuable human being. I've worked very hard to be able to create a pathway of my own personal truth and my strength to make sure that I am contributing to the well-being of other people. I am very proud, and I am a person you want part of that discussion. I want to take that message and tell other people, this is you. Now, if you don't feel that, we've got some work to do, but that's why we're together. We do that together for each other.
And that's why we got to listen to people's lived experiences.
Mhm.
Because that's where we get to the nitty gritty and the dirt of what's going on, and we hear these microaggressions, and how can we counteract that with healing? I'm just going to share a little story now because it popped into my head before the end. But we're talking about microaggressions and how people have talked to you. I was invited into this circle to for this grant committee to review grants for the city. And the person doing my intake, because they reached out to me to ask me to do it, and the person that was doing my intake were like, "Oh, we need a person with your worldview because everyone else is a stuffy, educated, white person that deals with numbers." I'm like, "Okay, so are you saying that I'm uneducated?" I was like, "Is this what you're saying?" I said, "Do you need an uneducated voice inside this room?" And they're like, "No, that's not what I'm saying." It's like, well, the way that you worded it
Yeah.
was that you needed someone with a lesser educational background and a person of color in this room. And granted, I knew I was invited in the room because I am Indigenous, which is fine. That's okay. But the way they worded the uneducated part was
Mhm.
crazy.
Mhm. Well, I mean, that's it right there. And the thing about it is how many of our communities have created their own environments because it's us against them.
Hmm.
And because when you go into a specific space and you feel a certain way, you know what feels good and you know that what doesn't. And so when we come together, I tell you, I shifted my career to be at CBRC because of how I felt. I felt included. I felt part of. I felt important. And I can't say I had felt that out in the world. I navigated fine. I was able to be adaptable and just be a chameleon into what I thought people wanted from me, which was harmful to me at the end of the day. But through my healing journey of and finding out who I am and how I show up, I've been able to find people just like me. And those are the people that encourage me to continue pushing forward because we've just scratched the surface.
Yeah, just scratch the surface. We have so much work to do to create the change that we want. Well, we talked about CBRC, talked about the Two-Spirit program. We talked about knowledge seekers, which the next 4 episodes will be about. We've talked about our bodies, our health. Jaylene, is there anything else that we feel we need to add on while we're here?
I think it's important to recognize this moment right now
Hmm.
and just say that the fact that we are here together and we are having a discussion that is sharing points of our understanding of what's important to us personally. And that has changed for me. And to be able to see you and to be able to see the work that you're doing in your community, but also to watch you take ownership of the strength that you bring to community. For me, it's like it reminds me that there is change happening. And so I want to continue to tell people that the only limit of what you can achieve in the world is your imagination. Keep dreaming because that is something that before you know it, if you just show up and do the best you can do every single day, you're chipping away at your masterpiece, if you will.
Hmm.
You know, and I think that that is something that I have trusted for a while. And you know, I'm in my 28th year of continuous sobriety, which seems like a long time, but for me, sometimes it seems like it was yesterday.
Hmm.
But we're here, and I show up today, and I I make it very clear that I'm here to make sure that until every single person, queer person, trans person, indigenous person, feels included, we have work to do. And so I kind of feel like now I can do the work. And that is what gives me that excitement is to know that there's people following us that are seeing us trans, drag queens, two-spirit, indigiqueer, different identities, but it's what you choose. You choose your potential. How exciting is that?
It's so exciting. And there's so much power in just showing up and being present, and it creates like a ripple effect when people see you and then they want to recreate that or create their own. And
Yeah.
I love that. And I feel that's exactly what the CBRC Two Spirit program does. We go in the community, we talk to these people, we get stories from them, we learn from their lived experiences, and we use it to create frameworks to try to better Indigenous communities.
Yeah. And one more thing about with the CBRC as well, with Two Spirit program, but we also have groups of like all racialized people to come together and to make sure that we're creating that environment that includes everyone too as well. And we also have the leader of our executive director coming on trips into nations with us, so they can see what that's like. So I just feel so proud to be part of that.
So do I. I'm quite excited to see what the knowledge seekers have to say coming up in the following episodes. Well, thank you, Jaylene. That was such a fantastic opener to this 5-part series. I greatly appreciate all the time that we always get to spend together. You speak with such poise and a sense of identity that's empowering to hear. And I appreciate every time you get to share space with me.
Well, thank you. And I do feel when we are able to sit in a space where our voice is invited, we're not only inviting our voice, we're inviting the spirit of our generations, of our ancestors to come in and to be able to share that. And you can't do that unless you're able to really feel like you are welcome. And that to me, I'm looking forward to you having your discussions with other people here, because when that all comes together, oh, what a beautiful contribution that's going to be. So thank you so much for the invitation.
Thank you. I'm quite excited. If you want to see more what's going on, check out CBRC on all social media platforms, as well as Rebellious Unicorn Studios. Once again, thank you so much, Jaylene. I will be seeing you soon.
All my love, all my relations.
Bye.